The House Intelligence Committee, the White House says, officials there say they want to present recommendations to the president tomorrow. Chief of Staff John Kelly says that President Trump's decision on declassifying the memo will rely on advice from the heads of the FBI and Department of Justice. Joining me now, Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell of California. He is a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. The White House Chief of Staff John Kelly says that this memo is a lot less clean than the Republican version, meaning that it will require some redactions and tweaks. Your response?
Good morning, John. Well, I certainly have not heard the FBI or the DOJ publicly express the concern about the Democratic memo that I heard them express about the dangerously reckless Republican memo. We want it to be reviewed for any new national security sources and methods that be revealed, but I want it out there without any political edits so we can frankly move on, get away from the attacks on process and get back to interviewing witnesses and receiving evidence.
The charge from Republicans is that it was written for the purpose of being redacted. What we have heard from Republicans is that it's filled with sources and messes, the type of thing that would have to be crossed out. Is that true?
No, it was written to be War and Peace in response to a nursery rhyme that was put out. These issues are complicated, and when you make baseless, distorted allegations, you can't just let them go. Sometimes it takes more than 4 pages to explain to the American people what's going on, especially when you want to undermine an important institution like the FBI or the Department of Justice. So, sometimes these are not as simple as some simple minds would like you to think they are.
But if there are redactions requested by DOJ or the FBI, you will respect that? I mean, you'll have to.
Yes, and that's something we asked for that the Republicans did not ask for, a discretion we are willing to show that they were not willing to show.
All right, Congressman, the Senate could be on the verge of a big spending deal. Bipartisan senators now meeting behind closed doors, and we could get an announcement very shortly, maybe striking a deal to fund the government for up to 2 years, including an increase in military spending and domestic spending and raising the debt ceiling past the midterms. This doesn't deal in any way with immigration, which I know has been a concern for House Democrats. So, would this be something you could support?
It's certainly something that I'm reviewing right now, just as the American people are waiting to hear. But I don't understand, John, why we can't do all of this and do big things like including immigration and, funding our health centers and, continuing to build modern schools and renewable energy programs that reduce our electricity costs. Let's do big things for the American people instead of doing these one-offs and 3 to 4 week budgeting.
So you're concerned that it doesn't include immigration?
Yeah, of course, that's a concern. There's a lot of other things that it doesn't include, and I am concerned that, we are increasing the deficit after we just gave the wealthiest in America a nearly $2 trillion tax cut.
Do you think it reduces Democratic leverage in negotiating over a deal for Dreamers and DACA recipients?
No, I believe the leverage that we have is the sentiment of the American people, which is that the president promised these Dreamers that they would have a pathway if a deal was struck, and now people expect our leaders to come together in a bipartisan way and strike that deal.
But as it stands now, what you've seen in the Senate bill, you do have concerns.
I do. I have concerns if we can't address all of these issues.
I called it a bill. We don't know what it is yet. It's not out yet, but the issue is being leaked from it right now. The military wants the president wants a military parade. You have spoken about this. Why don't you like parades?
I love parades, and the military deserve a parade every single day and twice on Sunday, but I think most of them would tell you they would rather see that money spent taking care of those who have served, who have been neglected, and not, for a president who is, quite childish when he talks about using our military to have a parade just for his own purposes.
Well, he says, look, he says the parade is not just for his own purposes. He says it would be a parade to honor the service of troops around the world and to honor veterans. One possibility is that the parade actually happens on Veterans Day next November, which would be the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I.
And I go to Veterans Day parades every year, John. Again, if we're talking about, continuing to spend millions and millions of dollars unnecessarily just to suit the president's needs, I'm not for that, and I don't think many military leaders would be for that. Let's honor the military by taking care of those who have already served and giving those in the battlefield, the equipment that they need so that they come home safely.
You actually said overnight that you thought this was all a distraction. You said he's doing this so you forget that he said he'd interview with Mueller and now he won't.
classic Trump, right? He puts out a confetti bomb as soon as the news starts to really, I think, drill in on inconsistencies. You know, this is somebody who said in September 2016, only the mob invokes the Fifth Amendment. If you're innocent, you do not invoke the Fifth Amendment, and now we're approaching the possibility that he may refuse to talk to Bob Mueller. So I do question whether this is just a distraction to get the American people talking about something else and not focused on his promise to come clean.
You know, overnight, it's interesting because CNN is reporting, our Sarah Murray is reporting, the president is actually saying that he would still like to speak to the special counsel's investigators. He says he can handle it, so you don't buy that.
Well, I hope that's the case. You know, he's a big boy. He can make his own decisions and shouldn't be restrained by any of his aides if he really is willing to sit down in that chair and tell the truth.
But, Counselor, you know from your former work in the legal profession as a lawyer, would you advise the president to sit down with investigators? Joe Biden, the former vice president of the United States, overnight says he doesn't think he would advise the president to sit down with the special counsel because he doesn't think he can accomplish it.
Isn't that sad, John, that the president of the United States has to decide whether he can be, truthful or not because of problems he's had in the past? I would tell any client that if you don't have anything to hide, you should really cooperate because it would look really bad if you didn't.
All right, Representative Alex Swalwell, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it, sir.
My pleasure.
All right, we are just moments away from the opening bell. In the last few days, this has been a time of great tumult. Are we in for yet another roller coaster day? Look at that right there. We'll see. Stay with us.